Let's start off high level. First, what are the best products to do online events for, and why?
Great question. And I think almost any event can be sold, but I love people who have products they can sell virtually, because that's what we're doing, right? We're not running in-person events. We're not selling in-person products. We're selling virtual products. So services like software is really good. So if you're here and you own a SaaS company or a software company, you can use virtual events to sell those. We've done it many, many times. You have coaching programs work amazing. Other info products do very well for us. But just know this can range from anybody that's a speaker, a coach, all the way to I have some real estate agents and life insurance agents that are filling their business with virtual events. And so I think a lot of people, they think in a certain way and they limit themselves, but know that there's really no limit to how you can use these, because it's all about using virtual events just to get your brand and your message out into the world. And so if you have a product, if you have a service, you can find a way to tailor your message and put it into a virtual event. Like a life insurance agent, people would say, Michael, they're using virtual events. Yes, I have one guy. He's selling life insurance weekly on a webinar, and he's getting 100 appointments per week just from a webinar. Crazy. I have agents, real estate agents, going back to that. They're doing events on the best home loan products. They're partnering with lenders. They're becoming trusted agents in their market. So listen, there's so many benefits. So don't limit yourself. But I would say software and info products are my favorite. But you can do this regardless of what industry you're in.
No, that's awesome. All right. So, and that encompasses, I think most businesses have some aspect of those, right? So there is a use case for this in most businesses, I would say. So with that as a backdrop, then what are the keys to having a successful online event? Like what is your top, let's just call it your top 3 pieces of advice to putting on a successful online event?
Yeah. And I'll take you back to some of the mistakes we made when we first started. When we first started running virtual events, one of the mistakes we made was, number one, was teaching and building out content that wasn't relevant to our market. So number one thing I tell people to have a successful event is you need to do some market research and market data on who you're actually going to be bringing into the room. Because our mistake was that we were getting people in the room and we were adding value, right? We thought we were adding value to them, when in reality, we were just bombarding them with too much information. And some of the information wasn't even relevant. We thought it was because we were in our little bubble here. But once we started reaching out and asking people what they wanted, and we started doing our market research, we realized people need something much different and much better. So I would say, number one, you have to figure out what are your potential clients, your potential event registrants, what are their desires? What are they struggling with right now? What are they trying and it's not working? So sit down and actually curate that. And that could be you sending surveys out. That could be, you having somebody on your team do a call for your, the past customers over the past week or two. Take some time to really get that data, because I believe, and maybe I'm wrong, but wouldn't you say that there's importance in having that data?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's gold.
That's
in all
one
that
thing
data.
So that's what we tell people to do at the front, is make sure you're doing your research, but don't get in this phase where you're doing that for months and months and months, because some people will be like, well, Michael, I only got 5 people to give me advice or 10 people to give me feedback. So I don't feel like but no, start where you're at, come up with a strategy, and I promise you it'll pay off in the end. Number 2 is, I'll say, every event, in order for it to be successful, not only do you need to tailor the content to them, I'll say is you have to have an event with the 3 E's. Okay. Like, Michael, what are the 3 E's? Every event must have, number 1, engagement. You have to get people commenting in the chat. You have to have them taking action some way, somehow. And you look back, I'm sure, Dave, you've attended some virtual events. You've probably been to some that were horrible, right? You're like, I don't know how this person is even, pulling in this many people. Like, but the ones that were really good, they were probably the ones that had a lot of engagement, right? You probably could notice a difference between them. The ones that were horrible probably had no engagement. They were dry. Versus on the other end, the ones that were good, they were building engagement, getting you to think, getting you to take action on something. So the first E out of the three is you need to have engagement, right? Number two is you need to have energy. Now, I'm not saying you have to be bubbly and over the top and, be at talking at a high pitch and like be all this like all the time, but show up with belief in what you do. Show up that when people enter the room, they're like, wow, this is somebody I want to attach myself to and lock arms with in the future. Because listen, when energy is an attractant, right? Energy, meaning how you portray yourself on camera, how you speak, how you act on camera can be an attractant to pull people into your business. People are going to be able to tell through the camera or through the microphone if they want to lock arms with you, or if they say, you know what, this person's not for me. So we need to show up with engagement, but the right energy. And then lastly, I'll say enthusiasm, right? You need to show up with enough enthusiasm that they see, going back to kind of what I hinted on earlier, that you believe in the industry, you believe in the product, that you are all in on it. And if they don't believe that in you, they're not going to go buy your product. They're not going to stay on the entire webinar. Right. But if you show up with those three things, it can be payoff. So I know is this okay? Like, or is this, you understand that, or you feel like this is valuable to your audience? Because I feel like
I do actually a lot of virtual events still, so I can relate to this really well. I think you're hitting the nail on the head with engagement. In fact, best practice. One of the things that I always try to do when I start off a virtual event is get people engaged. I'll ask them questions. Hey, put your answers in the chat or the questions box, and you guys. I want to make sure that people are engaged and everything else. But then you're right. You have to have a great content and everything, but you have to have that energy to keep people engaged too, right?
Right.
And so that's that's another key piece of it. So yeah, all of these make perfect sense. Easier said than done, right?
Right.
But I understand why those are the key components.